The Golden Boot's one of my favorite trophies in all of college football. You play for it this Saturday. And what's funny, Jake, is during the press conference and everything, there's been a lot of talk like Joe Fouché and Greg Brooks. If you go back and you look at last year's game, when that clock hit 0, there's a player who sprints over to the Golden Boot at full speed and swan dives like belly style on the ground, like slides up to it. That's Joe Fouché.
Yeah.
So that man captured the Golden Boot for Arkansas. He now returns home as a conquering hero. He's LSU's highest graded defensive player in the Alabama win. And now he goes back to his former teammates, the place that he once helped attain the greatest trophy in college football. And now he will try to bring it back for some new boot goofing with his new boys.
I think it tells you how much it meant for him to beat LSU because he probably, wanted to play for LSU coming out of high school. Like, so that game for him was like a revenge factor. Like, okay, y'all didn't recruit me. I'm going to go get that trophy because we just beat y'all. Well, now with the new staff who wanted him at LSU, they realized the value he could bring to LSU. Like, now, obviously, he's all in for LSU. And so, like, don't take that as a slight. That's me taking it like he wanted to play at LSU, wasn't given the opportunity to play at LSU. So Greg Brooks, Joe Fouché, those guys, they're going to be locked in like we talked about yesterday.
Well, and then there's also going to be a couple guys that you're going to be playing that were here, right? I mean, Dwight McLaughlin being at the top of the list, a former starter for LSU. I should have said Takedo Takado, but, can't go back in time, can we? Here's the only thing I want to say, Jake, is that whenever I'm like talking to anybody about this, I'm getting a lot of, again, and we talked about this, we touched on this a couple days ago, I'm getting a lot of fear-based questions, right? Are you worried about being cold? Are you worried about it being at 11 a.m.? And like, make no mistake, these are elements that are somewhat unique to playing Arkansas, right? Like it tends to be the coldest game because of the time of year and the geography. Like it tends to be the coldest game that LSU players will ever play. Unless they, I don't know. Where would you play? I mean, maybe in the future, an expanded playoff, if you have like a first-round game, like a Big Ten or something.
If you go to Como, maybe.
There
somehow
you go.
Late in the year if the schedule changes.
So the point is, yes, this tends to be the coldest game you will play. So, yeah, it is an outlier in that regard. Now, Brian Kelly did talk on Monday about how this team trained outdoors, only outdoors, in January, March, and February last year to kind of start to build up some idea of what it's like to work in 40 and 50-degree weather. And the other thing's like, it's at 11 a.m. But my point is, like, none of that matters. Are they elements in the narrative? Absolutely. Are they some slight challenges to overcome? Absolutely. But you are the better team. What these things are not are any excuses for losing or any reason to be fearful. Again, do not approach this game fearfully. Approach it confidently. What has this team done to lead you to being fearful when you start to get excited and think about Saturday?
I mean, the elements is never like something I like talking about because, it's cold for both teams, and I know that they've been in it, but I mean, it is cold for both teams. No one, like I played in Denver, like it was cold every day. I don't get used to it. It was still cold for me when it was snowing out there. So
Trey White mic'd up in Buffalo is still one of the best, just one of the best NFL films.
I mean, look, I guarantee if we had Shaq on the show, Trey White, that's his nickname, not Shaquille O'Neal, he would say the same things like, dude, I ain't used to it. It's still cold out there. Yeah. But, hey, it is at 11 a.m. At least the sun's going to be out.
Yeah, that's true, right?
It's colder at night.
Yeah, that's a very fair point.
Would you rather be the home team or the away team, like in a situation when it's 11 a.m.?
That's actually a good point. I see what you're saying because you lose a lot of juice if you're the home team. It's just hard. Unless you're like from like Big Ten country where they're literally, that's the rhythm that they're used to. I make
fun of Bobby all the time. Big noon kickoff. I'm like, who's it playing noon?
Hey, look, dude. I get it. Big noon kickoff is not as tight as primetime football. It's not as tight as 2:30 CBS. But
I'm not even talking about like the show and.
I was going to say. Okay, I was talking about the show.
No.
They've done a good job. With that show. Like they've created something out of nothing.
A lot of those guys are my dudes. Like they do a great job. I'm talking about kicking the ball off. At noon Eastern.
It's weird. I mean,
every single week.
Like that Tennessee game. Trying to get out to campus to like see a couple people. It was brutal. It felt like you had no time. Like you wake up and you're immediately like, we got to go. No, I need a little time to kind of get the engine revved up, get a little coffee, have a little fun. So no, to your point, if you're the away team, that's fine. The crowd's going to be against you anyway. It's easier as a player to just get up and lock in. You're used to the schedule and everything. So yeah, that's actually a very good point, Jake, that I never really considered. It could be argued that that's almost advantage LSU, if anything. I think the idea is that maybe people feel like the favorites sleep early on. But one thing about this team, and one thing that Brian Kelly is very clear about in the press conference on Monday, is that this is a team, Jake, that remains addicted to the process, right? They didn't engage in anything extra for Alabama. They approached Alabama the same way they approached Ole Miss, same way they approached Florida, same way they approached Tennessee, Auburn, all these other games, right? And so within that consistency, you fight against this idea of complacency or not showing up ready or finding or thinking you've arrived, right? If you keep doing the things that got you there, and I do believe that this team has the ability to do that. Now, I do think there is sometimes a tendency as a player to, if you know it's a lesser team, maybe you aren't as stressed, and maybe you're like the temptation is to maybe do a little less, and that's where the leadership of this team is going to have to come in. But I like the leadership of this team, so I'm not worried about it. You just go in the game. I don't care anything.
So someone in the chat, I think, was asking me about like how is it maybe somewhat of an advantage to be the away team. I can just tell you, if I don't even want to say it's an advantage maybe for that team over the home team, but when you're the away team and you have a primetime matchup, you're sitting around a random hotel all day long.
So annoying.
And because you're on the road and not at home, coaches are worried about what are you doing. So they start to call extra walkthroughs. Yeah. They start to call extra film. They start to chase ghosts all day long. And you're just sitting there, meeting, go back, meeting, go back.
You got to manage energy. It's like not getting too high.
That might sound dumb, but that's just the way it is. Like if you're the home team, the coach is a little bit more lenient. You know the hotel. You know what you're doing. You can be a little bit more free. They don't have the extra meeting, and they go home to their families at night. They actually have breakfast with their families, and then they come back and you have the one main film walkthrough situation. But on the road, the coaches are chasing ghosts all day long, and so to me, it gives you a game plan that's not what you would typically do, and you try to reach and maybe do a little too much.
Well, and the crowd. I mean, look, I get it. The crowd was killed during the Tennessee game mainly because of the start. But even without that start, it's a crowd that just doesn't have the juice of a night crowd. That is just the reality of the situation. So no excuse. We want to be Golden Boot goofing by the time that Saturday afternoon rolls around. And then look, if you're a player, Jake, there is nothing better than winning one of these 11 a.m. kickoffs. I mean, all of a sudden, the world is your oyster. You have a whole afternoon. Are you kidding me? You have an afternoon and a night? Yep. Like a whole night? You can even watch football if you want while drinking some beers and watching the pressure on other people for once. Like, it's an incredible feeling when you go on the road and get an 11 a.m. dub, and then you're back home by what, like 5 or 6? Like, let's go, dude. So, and there's a good chance you'll be sitting there watching yourself maybe win the West. Though Alabama Ole Miss is an interesting game that I'm kind of intrigued to see how it's going to play out. But, like, yeah. So, there's everything to play for. Approach it in the same way. I believe in the leadership of this team. I believe in the process. I'm not worried about it. Go Tigers. Go take care of business this Saturday. Get the Golden Boot. Right.
Yeah, we got to see where Arkansas's health is as well. They had some injuries. They've had some injuries really all season long. That could be another part of the storyline here for Arkansas, and a team that at times we've seen them play really well. At times we've seen them certainly struggle like they did last week. But make no mistake about it, like Liberty's a good football team. Should Arkansas lose to them like they did because the score really didn't tell the story of the game? No, but this is a team that is capable. And so you have to go in there. You have to be focused. And I agree with everything that T said. This is a team that has shown you that's who they are to this point in the season.
Yeah, also, that would be a trap to fall into. Like, Arkansas is not going to be the same team against Liberty that they are against you. Like, they will be more locked in. They will probably be more ready to go.